All right, welcome everyone to the our first Judiciary Committee hearing of the session. Uh, my name is Carl Rhodes. I'm chair of the committee. This in-person Zoom meeting and YouTube live stream event will include the following agenda, our just one 10 p.m. agenda. Since it's our first session, I'll go ahead and request that members introduce themselves. I'll step down here on the left, my left, with Senator Chang. Go ahead.
Stanley Chang.
Okay, there you go.
Mike Gabbard, representing District 21, West Oahu.
And Joyce San Buenaventura representing District 2, the Big Island, Puna.
Thank you very much. As noted, this hearing is being live streamed on YouTube. You can find links to viewing options for all Senate hearings and meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website, which is www.capitol.hawaii.gov. In the unlikely event that we must abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business on Tuesday, February 6th at 9 a.m. here in 016, and a public notice will be posted. For the people testifying remotely, all testifier audio will be muted and video disabled until it's your turn to testify. For the committee's practices, there is a 2-minute time limit on testimony, although members often have questions. So if you can hang around, that would be great for possible questions. If there's any temporary technical glitches during your turn to testify, we may have to move on to the next person. We'll try to come back if time allows. And I think that'll do it. Let's go ahead. The first bill on the agenda today is Senate Bill 2055, requires the Civil Rights Commission to establish a helpline for individuals to submit reports of harms from federal deployments in the state, requires the Civil Rights Commission to compile an annual report and hold an annual public hearing on data obtained through the helpline. First up on 2055 is Heather McVeigh, Deputy Director for the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission.
Hi, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair Heather McVeigh, Deputy Executive Director with the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission. Well, we had some ideas to implement this bill that would also increase the opportunity to capture work that is covered by our jurisdiction, as we're concerned that as it's written, the report of activity by federal agencies would not be covered by our jurisdiction. So the idea is that we would use the existing infrastructure with Hawaii's 211 and an MOU with Aloha United Way to execute the call line itself. And then we would also recommend that we open it up to reports of civil rights violations as well as human rights violations, which are historically underreported. And then we would need support to implement the outcome of that here with our agency. So we provided some edits and comments on that, and happy to answer any questions you have. But we think it's a great idea because people don't report these kinds of things, and making it known that it's being reported to the Civil Rights Commission, I think would have an opportunity to have more folks report that, and thus we could use the information to direct resources for outreach and education and a lot of other uses, and as well as adding it to the Attorney General's report on hate crimes, which I know is already on the books. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Next up is Stephen Munkelt for Legal Women Voters. In support, Chris Cofield, President for Imu Alliance, whose name I've consistently mispronounced for like 20 years. I think it's Cofield. Anyway, he's in support too. Michael Galoyu Sr. in support. Victor Ramos in opposition. Anybody's here online, jump in, please. Lorna Holmes in support. Brent Coldis in opposition. Dawn Wakukawa in support. Sam Guckenheimer in support. Elena Arinaga in support. Lauren Faue in support. Elizabeth Welton in support, Jody Weideman in support, Roger Hamada in support, Christy Gund in support, Noel Lindeman in support, Janet Tiare in support, Natasha Lum in support, Vivian Tolner in support, Tim Heike in support, Amber Kane Hailua in support, Jane Aquino in support, Cheryl Bellamy in support, Nancy Moser in support, And everyone else is in support too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 more individuals in support. If anybody's here that would like to testify or online, please say so now. Okay, members, questions?
Yes.
Senator San Buenaventura, go ahead.
Hawaii Civil Rights Commission.
Yes,
Hello.
hello.
So, at my committee,
Sorry, maybe you better pull your mic.
Sorry. So at my committee, we heard a similar bill, for a warm line. And basically, my question is, you had estimated, well, really, it's more like a guesstimate of 300 to 500,000 and 70,000 to 225,000. My understand, and I like what you've written, that basically let's use the infrastructure there for 211. But it seems to me like the hearing I had regarding the warm line, there needs to be a handoff to somebody who is 24 hours with some legal knowledge. Would the 300 to $500,000 be that handoff? Is that what you're looking at, where maybe you could get volunteer attorneys to be there? Because that's what I foresee this as, ICE agent comes in, they want somebody to call right away to find out what their rights are and what they should do.
I see. Thank you, Senator. Okay, well,
Or
I
what is the
suppose,
300 to 500?
yeah, so I guess what we had in mind is, looking at what our jurisdiction covers and what we're able to do under our existing, structure, is that the majority of these federal agency reports would not be covered under our jurisdiction, and we're further constrained by confidentiality under 368-4. So I think what we had in mind is that the reports would come in and be handled by 211, who I understand is open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. currently as they work. There is the ability to leave messages after hours, but my thought, I guess, the thought of the commission, I should say, because this is our commission's position, is that this would be a reporting mechanism, and then callers would be referred to legal resources the way that 211 will recommend resources in the community according to the partnerships they have with a long list of different agencies. So it wouldn't be like a legal hotline where you could get legal advice per se, but we could have it so that we would refer folks to whatever legal entity that they could seek legal advice for their issue. But if it were covered by our jurisdiction under housing, employment, public accommodations, and access to state-funded services, then we would take and do an intake and then go through our regular investigation process. And we would perceive that this would increase our number of intakes and the number of reports that we have. And then also, if it doesn't arise to the point of us taking action one way or another, we're still receiving and categorizing the information that comes in about reports of, say, hate crimes or other civil rights violations that maybe don't rise to that level, but it's information that we can use to track and navigate and direct resources as a result of that. I hope that answers your question.
No, well, yes, may I? Okay, so, okay, I'm just reading like the first paragraph, okay? Which is not a 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Reporting. It refers to a 24-hour access to assist who have been harmed, whose immediate or extended family have been harmed or witness harm. So it sounds like to me, it's an immediate request. It's a warm line for an immediate request for advice. So shouldn't this then be, because of your limited scope, shouldn't the 24-hour warm line then just be, shouldn't we just have like a resolution, maybe funding HSBA to have this warm line to give immediate advice and then give you folks the reports from that warm line. Because you have the limited scope.
Well, I think that the idea we had to really give meaning to this was that we would receive the reports of information, and then that would be provided for use by the legislature in a report, not so much a legal hotline where people are getting legal advice on, immediately when they call in, but more of a report that could then be used for other purposes. But I mean, certainly if HSBA had a 24-hour hotline with attorneys that would volunteer to give advice and take action on things, no doubt that would be helpful and timely right now. But we're taking what was proposed here and trying to broaden it a little bit so that it could also meet our mission.
I understand.
Yeah.
If you have anybody else other than HSBA, like the legal clinic or Naloyo, and it seems to me that's probably more appropriate. Do you have any other potential suggestions?
Well, we think it's a great idea. I think, based on the fact that there's so much underreporting. And I think the thing is that folks don't want to approach law enforcement to make, or other governmental agencies to make these kinds of reports. So I think having it land with HCRC, although we're very busy, I think we would be able to put that to use in a lot of ways to fulfill our mission. And also, it's directed in the same direction. But I can appreciate where you're coming from as far as, wanting to get people immediate help at the time that they need it when they call, right? And I don't know if I misspoke, but the AUW takes calls from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then thereafter, there is a voicemail that would be addressed. So part of what we perceived is that we would interface with them and receive that information, digest it, take it if it's jurisdictional for us, investigate it, et cetera. Otherwise, all of that would be put together in a report as directed. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Members, other questions? I do have a couple more for you. So the 24/7, so the 24/7 helpline that you were envisioning was not, I guess I sort of, maybe I misunderstood it. I thought it was live all night, but you're saying no, it's not, it's only live until 10 o'clock.
Well, and I guess the thing is that that's something that could be negotiated, but as I'm looking at the infrastructure that's already there for 211, that they're open with a live person answering the phones from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And you can call with a number of concerns, right? So after that, it would be a voicemail addressed the next day, as far as I understand. But perhaps that could be addressed. I'm sorry.
But the cost estimates that you have in your testimony, that was envisioning 7 to 10, not 24/7.
Correct.
Okay. Question about your current, well, from my reading anyway, or our reading is that this bill doesn't really try to change the jurisdiction of HCRC about in terms of what they can adjudicate. Is that correct?
Correct.
So at this point, do you have any jurisdiction over federal employees in the course of their duties? I mean, I think you would have some if they were not, if they're acting as individuals, but I don't know. I'm sorry. I'll ask a question. Do you have any jurisdiction over federal employees in the scope of their employment at this point?
No, sir.
No. And you do have jurisdiction over them as individuals?
Yes, we would, in the realm of employment, real estate transactions, public accommodations, and access to state funded services.
Okay. Okay, members, other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for being here. We'll move on to the second and last bill of our agenda today. And this is SB 2152, proposing an amendment to Article 6, Section 3 of the Hawaii State Constitution to increase the mandatory retirement age for state justices and judges. First up, we have Judge Kim, Robert D.S. Kim, testifying for the judiciary. Good morning. Thanks for coming up.
Good morning, Chair Rhodes, Vice Chair Gabbard, members of the committee. I'm here to voice the strong support of the judiciary for this measure. This raises the mandatory retirement age for judges from 70 to 75. Why is that important? When you're a judge, it takes time to understand the process of being a judge. And through experience, just like the practice of law, as time goes on, you become a better judge because you understand the role that you play. And by limiting the amount of time that people can be a judge, you're going to have a brain drain. You're going to have people who have great experience over decades that will have to hit the wall and leave. Raising the age also assists with administrative stability. When a judge leaves, they have to go through an entire process to find another judge. I am a poster child for that wall. When I reached 70, and that was July 2024, I had to step down and could no longer be a judge or a per diem judge. Before I retired as being a judge, I notified the Judicial Selection Committee 1 year before that date so that they could prepare to have a smooth transition for my replacement. Judge Ka'ua Jackson, who was my successor, was sworn in on June 2nd, 2025. That was almost a year through the process. And what happened during that time period? District Court judge would have to come up.
There may be questions for you, but
Okay, thank you.
thanks for
Thank
coming. Haley Chang, Assistant Public Defender. Good morning.
Morning. Good morning, Chair Rhodes, Vice Chair Gabbard, and members of the committee. On behalf of the Office of the Public Defender, my name is Haley Chang. I'm the first deputy, also known as the Assistant Public Defender. Our office is a statewide agency, and we appear in front of the judiciary at every court level across the state, from district, family, circuit, and appellate. As indicated in our written testimony, we are in strong support of this measure. Too often we see our really experienced judges that have a lot of institutional knowledge and have really settled into the calendars retire before their time. We believe that there are appropriate safeguards in place to make sure that any concerns addressed with the age of the judges are adequately addressed. And we also want to highlight that we want people to apply for judicial positions who have had the experience of a robust legal career. We want people to sit on the bench who have practiced for a very long time and who have a lot of experience before they are appointed to be a judge. And we believe this would create a mechanism to allow people a longer practitioner career before they apply, knowing that they have 5 more years on the back end to serve as a judge if they are selected. So we'll stand on our written testimony, and thank you for allowing me to offer additional comments in support. I would normally remain for questions, but I apologize. I need to attend another hearing on the 4th floor. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Drew Hara, Project Attorney for Earth Justice on Zoom. Morning.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, Senators. Drew Hara, I'm an attorney with Earth Justice, and we stand on our written testimony and would just emphasize our support for this measure. So mahalo.
Thank you very much. Next is Kat Brady for Community Alliance on Prisons.
Good morning
Morning.
and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Kat Brady testifying on behalf of Community Alliance on Prisons on behalf of the 3,668 people currently incarcerated, 799 of whom are serving their sentences in Arizona, a contract prison. At this point, 16 states have no retirement age. One state has advanced retirement age, 90, and that's Vermont. 8 states have 75 years as retirement age. 19 have 70 as the retirement age, and 6 states have retirement ages between 71 and 74. Some of them have even if a judge reaches that age, he's allowed to finish or she's allowed to finish her term. And that would have been nice with C.J. Rechtenwald, but he had to retire in September. Age shouldn't really be the marker. It should be competence. Somebody who is actually a competent judge who knows who has a long legal career and who knows how to navigate the system and help people understand. So we are in strong support of this measure, and I thank you so much for introducing it.
Thank you. Next up is Don Falmuina, State of Hawaii Organization of Police Officers in support. Next we have Kamakana Kaimuloa, Government Affairs for United Public Workers. Also in support, Bernadette Lee, American Judicature Society. Not her, okay. With comments, next is Stephen Munkelt, the Legislative Committee for League of Women Voters in support. Christian West of ILWU Local 142 in support. Angela Young testifying for CARES on Zoom. Go ahead. Morning.
Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES in strong support of Senator Rhodes' legislation. And yeah, so raising the age is a strategy to prevent seasoned judges from being forced off the bench or to avoid shifts in ideologies in the court system. If the court is going in that direction, then everything goes in that direction, right? Verdicts, rulings, overturns, and interpretations, and it results in stability in the court systems when everything goes in one direction under the presiding judge. So keeping experienced judges in office avoids the costs associated with training new judges and paying retirement benefits sooner than needed. Judges are often cognitively sharp and physically capable of performing their duties well beyond age 70, allowing the judiciary to retain valuable experience. So, you know, I've gotten to know a lot of attorney friends, and I get to hear about the trainings and the workshops and their lifestyles also from judges in the court system, employees, and you know, they have lots of fun friends, and I get to know like other attorneys and what he or she practices between the obligations of like sedentary work, high stress situations, and I think, you know, the lifestyle results in judges being able to work in the system until 75. I think raising the age helps reduce the high volume of vacancies in state courts and ensures stability, and particularly when veteran judges are needed to manage heavy caseloads. So, you know, I don't know what it's like being around court guards and scared criminals all the time, but all the attorneys I've gotten to know seems to be like we can be like incredibly good friends. So yeah, you know, mayor is 80, congressman is 73. I think mayor can still have a run in Congress. So
Thank you, Ms. Young. Thank you very much. Your time has expired. Next up is Mike Loyu Sr. in support, James Waldron Lindblad in support, Susan Picola Davis in support, Barbara Service in support, Carla Allison in support, Carolyn Eaton in support, Heather McVeigh in support, and Tom Heinrich. Does anyone else wish to testify in SB 2152? Seeing none, members' questions?
Yeah, I do. Sorry.
Senator San Buenaventura.
I guess Earth Justice, are you still on? No. Judge Kim, why don't you come on up? Are they still on?
Earth Justice, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Okay, never.
Senator San Buenaventura has some questions for you.
Okay, so Earth Justice, it seems to me from the people who testify, you folks probably have the loudest voice with your as a coalition, because ILW didn't show up here. My question is this, every session, chair submits and introduces a bill to increase mandatory retirement age for judges. And it almost always passes both houses and it always dies at the voting block, okay? Voters do not like increasing the mandatory retirement age. So my question is, if we pass this, are we gonna get support from you folks or any other coalition to try to get the voters educated so that we can pass this and it just doesn't die, right? It just doesn't die at the voting block.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And I think that's something that we can definitely look into. I don't want to commit us as an organization, but certainly I do think it's something, and it's in our written testimony, that I think serves the public interest. And I think as the Judge Kim testified, the issue with judicial recruitment has been amplified in recent years. And I think this retirement age is part of that factor. And so I think changing conditions, it comes up every year, but I feel like this issue has really amplified in the last few years with the extended vacancies that we see, not just for the Chief Justice position, but for judicial vacancies across all of our judicial
Thank you.
circuits.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here, okay? We pass it every single session and it always dies at the ballot. So I guess I'm trying to get commitments that we're just not wasting our time, because the organizations like ILW, like you folks, all are in support of it, but I don't see any kind of ads or try to get support from your members to at least vote for this on the ballot so that we're not wasting our time.
Yeah,
So,
and
can you
I
at least
appreciate.
bring it back? Can you at least commit to us that you will bring it back to your leadership and ask for their members to vote for this on the ballot? Should we pass it?
I will, of course, Senator. I will bring it back. And just as a distinction, we are not a member organization. We are a law firm, so we represent clients in the community, but it's not our prerogative typically to impose sort of our political will on our clients. We have robust community partnerships, and so we will certainly be out there having those conversations. So I appreciate the question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Senator Law.
So I understand, to the judge, please.
Okay.
I mean, it's to anybody who wants to answer it. Is it in general, if we're having a conversation here,
Yeah.
Which I guess they would have to have, is what you're asking. I voted no on this before, but like for dialogue purposes, while in reality, I understand why the increase is needed. We need the judges. Fundamentally, it doesn't make sense. And I'll relate this to football, like Nick Saban, former Alabama coach. We saw this past college football playoffs, 4 of the coaches that were under him were in the Final Four, coaching their own teams. Why don't we have that kind of system here? What is stopping? Because this is more like a Band-Aid. Like this is the last resort. We need to extend it. Why aren't we fixing so we have a judge's tree? So everybody has that knowledge of how to be successful at the highest level. That's what I want to address in discussion, because that's what keeps me from supporting extending it.
You mean like a mentor system, or when you say a tree?
Something like in my office. Hey, if I'm not here next year, somebody needs to know what I know so that they can take over, and it's a flow so that my community doesn't get disrupted by the leadership that it has. Same thing with you guys. Like I don't know whose responsibility it is, but that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. It's like, hey, how do we fix that issue where if we don't have people with this experience or knowledge, how do we correct that?
I'm sure that now that you've voiced this concern, that the judiciary will take a look at that. That's not the way the system works, though. And I think that your comments resonate. I think that we should have a mentor system, or a system in which the knowledge is passed off. The judiciary does have periodic meetings to go over with training, issues that appear and the like. And at those trainings, judges talk among themselves. So we basically gravitate to those judges that have experience, and they're more than happy to talk with us, share their thoughts and the like. But what happens a lot of times, I can only speak for Third Circuit because that's where I'm familiar. The distance between the last day of the judge and the selection of the new judge could be up to a year. And so there's no real pass off on that. And so I'm not clear what the best answer would be, sir.
Okay, I mean, that's the discussion that I think relating to Senator San Buenaventura's concern with, you know, if this goes to the public, what's the point? Because a lot of people might look at it that way.
Yeah, I think the point is that when judges have experience and time and years of experience, they become just more worldly judges in understanding what their role is, which helps the attorneys. When you have a new judge, the attorneys know they're new. When you have seasoned judges, when they talk to the litigants and the like in settlement conferences or from the bench, there's an ability of those attorneys to listen. And when a judge says, you know, I don't know about this case, that means a lot. When I was a law clerk, Philip Chun, who I was working for at the time, said, just remember, when you become a trial attorney, when a judge says something, close your mouth and listen because they're trying to tell you something. And so the more experience the judges have, the easier it is for them to navigate through litigation. And so that's the point of keeping judges. The other point I wanted to make was when you lose a judge, you have to start all over again. You have to go to the Judicial Selection Committee. So the more time that we have, we can lessen the amount of pressure on the Judicial Selection Committee, on the CJ or the governor, if they're the appointing authority, and the Senate, because you gotta keep, you know, scheduling all of those confirmation hearings. So if I could, since I'm not on a time limit, Chair, could I just make one comment?
I have one follow-up.
Okay.
I mean, like, just to, I mean,
Oh,
just to make my point, and then you can
Yeah.
rebuttal it real
Yeah.
quick. Like, I get that's a professional standpoint, but
Yeah.
from the public standpoint, and since I'm in a unique position of being the youngest over here, I'll speak for the younger generation, to which, you
Yes.
know, a couple generations down, I don't even understand how they view the world right now. Like, people want to be judged by their peers, not their grandpeers. So you got to kind of weigh that when you're trying to get it passed.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members, other questions? If you could stay there, I do
Yeah.
have a couple. So in terms of the concern about judges just being too old to be on basically this applies to anybody in any job, but you know, since we're talking about judges, regarding the concern that some people on the bench might be getting old over the hill and not being able to actually do the job anymore. So I just want to confirm that the Judicial Selection Commission retention hearings still occur, right? No matter if you have a 6-year term and you turn 73 at the end of the 6-year term, the normal process for retention is in place, correct?
Yes.
And so if the Judicial Selection Committee does sometimes not retain people, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do they look at, is one of the things they look at is the ability to be able to do the job?
Yes. However, even before the retention, as stated in the testimony, the Commission on Judicial Conduct is empowered
Thank you. That was my next question. Go ahead.
to make, if there are complaints about physical or mental disability or, you know, losing edge and the like, they can investigate. And so you don't have to wait till retention.
Right. But they can investigate. And then what's the process? If their report comes back and says, you know, it's really sad, but this guy used to be a great judge, but you know, whatever, he's developed Parkinson's disease and can't do the job anymore. Can they actually kick him off the bench, or is that left to the Chief Justice?
There are processes. I'm not specifically familiar with what happens after they investigate. And I can get back to you on that.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Members, other questions? Okay, if not, if it's okay with membership, we'll just go ahead and roll into decision making. Is that
Should
acceptable?
we yell for Joy just walked out. Bummer.
Don't
Don't chase her down.
what to do about
Thank
that. I
you.
think she had another meeting, so we have quorum, so it's okay. So on the first bill, SB 2055, recommendation is to go ahead and move it forward with a number of amendments. I'd like to adopt the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission's recommendations. We'll insert several appropriations of blank amounts for a contract with Aloha United Way for the 24-hour intake. I think maybe I'll actually specify that it is 24-hour live line as opposed to, that's what I thought they were talking about initially. So let's say that website and database development costs, that's another blank appropriation for that. They'll need additional staff. We'll put in a blank appropriation for that. And we'll state in the committee report the amounts that requested by HCRC, but note that the number for the 24-hour intake may not be accurate since we weren't necessarily talking about the same thing. We'll insert the positions, a number of which will be left blank in the bill, and request in the committee report 4 full-time positions, 2 civil rights investigators, 1 data analyst, and 1 program manager. Clarify that HCRC will investigate reports of civil rights over which HCRC already has jurisdiction. And will specify in the requested report that HCRC will make recommendations for policy and training improvements pertaining only to HCRC's jurisdiction. And will remove the requirement to report on arrests. In addition, I'd like to add a definition of harm and a definition of federal troop deployments. And as well, we'll require monthly preliminary reports to the legislature and posted on the HCRC's website, and specify that these reports use aggregated anonymized data, include a methodology / disclaimer describing verification limits. And finally, we'll put a bad date on and we'll make it effective on March 22, 2075. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SB 2055 with amendments. Chair Rhodes?
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang?
Aye.
Senator San Buenaventura is excused. Senator Hawa?
No.
The measure passes.
Okay, thank you. The last bill for this agenda is SB 2152. This proposes an amendment to Article 6, Section 3 of the Hawaii State Constitution to increase the mandatory retirement age for state justices and judges. Recommendation is to pass it with only a technical amendment. Questions or concerns?
Concern?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, so just lastly, I'm open to being able to support something like this, but not until we can kind of fix the issue. I don't know what that fix is. But for now, I'm going to be voting no.
Okay, understood.
As noted, I would be in favor of joining the 16 states that have no retirement age. I had noticed that in 2014 here in Hawaii, we tried to raise it to 80 years old, and it was defeated by the 72% margin. So we got a long ways to go. I agree with Senator San Buenaventura, and that is we need more of a public educational campaign. You know, through the churches, the businesses, everybody just so they understand what the issue is. And I just look at, okay, I just don't know. So anyway, I'll be voting in favor of this measure. But again, I would be in favor of just removing the retirement age altogether.
Understood. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other comments? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Chair Rhodes?
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang?
Aye.
Senator San Buenaventura is excused. And then Senator Wah?
No.
Measure passes.
All right. Thanks very much. Thanks everyone for being here. That concludes our hearing.